Well, good evening. The Who's today were on at Canterbury. The track played very fencish up the inside for the first say 5 races. The inside became a bit chopped up after the 5th race, and it was quite evident seeing where the winners came in the last 2 races that there was a bit of a fast lane out wide. Anyway, we'll get to that. The track was a heavy 9 upgraded to a heavy 8. Well, it was, as I say, it was a bit of a ploughed up. The rail was 6 metres out, and there was no wind, very still day. And in this first race, well, they said there was 114.1 on the screen, 108 in the marketplace, about 6 less. The winner was the favourite, but it did get out in the market. We're talking about What About, number 4. It got the charmer. It sat directly behind the leader on the fence and was able to get around its heels, and in between it and the horse on its outside, who was very well backed, Repetee, and ridden by Nash, and Get the Biscuits. And What About it? We put it up at $2.80 chance. It got out to as much as $3.30 towards the end of betting. Repetee, it was we put it up the second pick at $3.20, got out to $3.50, and was into a solid equal favourite at one stage at $3.20, but got back out to start $3.50 at the close of betting. The winner starting slightly favourite, and it won by 3 lengths. It led on the fence, Sweet Kiss, and which was an advantage. And having first use of the track, it held on for third, beaten 3.5 lengths. So I suppose its run was disappointing. Sliding through from last was the roughie of the field, being held up towards the finish of the race, running out of room, but saving all the ground on the fence, which was an advantage. That's about all you would say in the first race. The second race, they said there was 109.1 on the screen, about 7 less in the marketplace, about 2%, 102. And I thought this was some sort of risk. The winner, Arabian Gold. I paid the penalty. Had a very bad result on this race. The best luck, they said, was $1.75. I gave $1.90. I was $1.85 when they jumped. And as I say, I paid the penalty. Ridden a very, very good race by Bold Blake Shin. There was a protest in this race, the second versus first, for interference just before they entered the straight, when Bold Blake Shin got off the fence. When they hit the first turn, he came out of barrier 4, and when they hit the bend going into the back straight, he was able to slot in to the perfect position, right behind the leader. It led on the fence, Hot Albert. On its outside was Ladabout Town. As I say, the favourite right directly behind it. On its outside was the 25 to 1 chance Swift Thunder. Then we had Dancers Rose from barrier 1 inside the second horse, Stamina. And before they got to the turn, they hadn't gone that hard, and the runner on the outside, the favourite, wasn't able to keep the Avery in a pocket, and Bold Blake Shin was able to get out, extricate very easily, and Josh Parr on the second horse copped a bit of a prat from Swift Thunder, and also from the winner slightly when they were turning for home. He threw in a protest. The margin was a half a length. They got away from the others. It was 6.5 lengths back to third hole, and the protest was dismissed. I think we all saw you run this race again, and I dare say they would be a lot closer in the betting, and I would even go as far as to say that the second horse would be the favourite if you run this race again. They started $1.85 and $4.60 or $4.80 Stamina, and but the Grumble and Grunters got the cash, as I say, given a perfect ride by the rider. Race 3, a bit skinny here, 101.2 on the screen, 99% in the ring, a couple less, and it went to show how what an advantage it was to be near the fence here. Red Dynamite drew barrier 1, and he was 3 back on the fence. The second horse, Export, it was behind the leader on the fence, easing around heels turning. And the third horse, Mighty Bender, the 30 into 20 to 1, $21 chance, it was last on the fence, never went around a runner, and it got through and ran third. The runner that got trapped wide in the run here was Denoro Lad, number 8. Got beat 8.7 lengths, which could have got beat further for the tough run it had, sitting 3 wide in the run. But it got along the fence, Red Dynamite, 3 off, coming in with only 52.5, 1.5 under the limit, and the advantage of having the rails was enough to get this runner home. It finished up winning by 2 lengths to finish. The best backed runner all day in this race, and starting clear favourite. We did put them up. We put the winner up, the favourite, Red Dynamite, at a 9 to 4 chance, $3.20, but it got out. I think the SP is only $4. You could have had $4.60 when they jumped. It was $4.20 on the rails, or might have been $4.41 board and $4.60 in the outer, it was most probably a result for the bookies because, as I say, the best back runner in this race and starting favourite was Sense of Play, ridden by Nash. It drew barrier 2, and when it didn't find the fence, it was going to make it a little bit more difficult for it. It sat 4th, 1 off the fence, with Export on its inside, and it was more, you could see that it was in a bit of trouble turning for home. It finished up running 7th beat and 5.4 lengths. We put it up a $4.60 chance, and there was continual backing. There were 3 or 4 ways for it during the betting. They returned at $2.70, $2.80, a 7 to 4 chance. You could have still had $3 when they jumped, but it was 7 to 2 into 2s, a very big go, backed as if there was no settling, and the winner could have possibly been a good result for the bookies because it got out well out in the market. But by the same token, most of the other runners all got out as well. Straturbo, you wouldn't see it in the flux. We only put it up a $4 chance. It led on the fence and wobbled. It only got beat 2.5 lengths, but it was a poor run. It knuckled at the start, but got to the lead easy, hung out in, as I say, under pressure in the straight, and it went from $4 out to $6, back into $5.50. Everything got out in the market because of the very good backing for Sense of Play. Race 4, they said there was 110 on the screen, 4 less in the marketplace, about 106. And here we saw Pretty Famous. Pretty Famous would have been a great result for me last start. When there was a bit of bias last start at Canterbury, when leading on the fence, similar today, was an advantage, and Pretty Famous was able to come across last start and find the bunny, but I thought was very, very disappointing in the straight to hold on and only run third. But today, it didn't find the lead. It came across and led Long Shadow, and Pretty Famous, who was drawn on its inside, it was able to cross Pretty Famous, but then Pretty Famous got outside the lead and fought on very well. The format of this race is going to be very suspect. It ran second in this race, Oxford Heart, who sat in 6th position in between runners and copped a couple of checks in the run and also held up slightly, was only beaten 0.3 of a length. And coming from well back, dead heating for third, were after missing the kick, well, they didn't miss the kick, but they copped bits of slight checks after they jumped, were the dead heaters for third, making up, coming from second last or third last and second last on the turn, one going in between runners, and that was Pallades, and the other one coming widest on the turn of the look down the outside, like it did last start, making up plenty of ground, and they dead heated at third and were only beaten 0.7 of a length. If it would have been a fair track, I have no doubt that these two runners would have quinelled the race. A runner that got trapped 3 wide in the run, and I suppose stuck on fairly well, was Hot Rhythm. It only had barrier, was only drawn in barrier 5, and it was 3 wide all the way, a victim of circumstances, the rider, and it stuck on fairly well, beaten only about 5.2 lengths. We got to race 5. They said there was losing figures on the screen, 99.7. There's a good less, about 3 less in the marketplace, about 96%. And coming across from in this race, drawing the outside alley was the winner. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 9 runners in this race, and it drew the outside alley Arrowette, and it wasn't a bad draw for this runner who loves the going, and it had sufficient speed, ridden by T. Clark, to come across and find the bunny on the fence, and he was able to cross What Luck, who tried to hold him out, but Shane Arnold, the 3 kilo boy, carrying 57 after his allowance, wasn't able to hold him out. It found the bunny Arrowette. It was balanced and was able to get enough break on the turn to just hold on and beat by 0.2 of a length our brightest star, who sat in the 1-1 position. Coming from back in the field to run third was Recoinage, making up a lot of ground, only beaten 1 length. The winner coming across and finding the bunny, that is the main factor why it got home. It was a very, very good result for the captains. We put it up trying to show the punters the right way home. $3.80 favourite, and it never stopped getting out in the marketplace. It went from $3.80 to start $6, 11 to 4 to 5s, and as I say, it was a good result for the captains. The betting in this race, what did firm? We only gave 96. What Luck went from $6 out to $9, back into $8.50. The next runner, Timely Kiss, went from $10 out to 17, back into 15. Arrowette, as I say, $3.80 to $6. Corsa Rosa, you wouldn't see it in the flux, but as much as $7 was given, but we only put it up a 7 to 2 chance, $4.60 out to $7, back into 6. Crystal Miss, oh yes, we're getting down to what was very well backed here. Crystal Miss, it was $10 into $9. Our Brightest Star, it went from $9 out to 13, back into 11. And then we got to the very, very well backed number 12, Miss Milanese. Now, Miss Milanese's run was most probably very good because it missed the kick slightly and settled down at the tail of the field and had to make a run going out of the back straight, and was wide on the circle coming around them, and kept on finding in the straight. It was only beaten about 2.4 lengths, 2.5 lengths, and its flux were $8, a 7 to 1 chance. They returned at, I think, $4.80. You could still get 5 when they jumped. At one stage, I laid on the way in, I think at least 4,500 or 1,000 at 9 to 2, and good bets before that. It was sensationally backed. Recoinage, it was very hard to lay. it went from $5 out to $7, and down the bottom, I couldn't understand the backing for this runner. It's very easy now. Was Foxcraft, who was ridden by Sam Clipperton, replacing Earl Grace, couldn't make the weight. It was $26 into $15, 25s into 14s, and it was always well back and ran last, beaten 9.8 lengths. Bad figures, but by the same token, the winner was a result for the captains. Race 6, 103 on the screen. There was only about 96, 97 in the marketplace. Now, this is where this race, it was a bit evident the inside now had became fairly chopped up, and I suppose it wasn't really by design. It was just how it panned out. It got to the outside on this runner. I'm talking about the winner, Zeus, in the straight. They came home the last 600 in this 1900 metre race in 40 seconds. You'd beat them. Nearly beat them yourself. It goes to show, or it could prove that the form out of this race could point to these runners being a team of trotters. It led, well, first of all, the winner. It was a good result for the captains. By the same token, there were only a couple of runners backed in the race. These were the flux. Before I tell you how the race went, Code Word, we put it up $5. It got out to $5.50. We're very well backed into $4.80 layable. The opening favourite, My Delight, we put it up a $2.80 chance. I was $4 when they jumped and couldn't lay it. It went from 7 to 4 to 3s. Jack Song, $6 out to $8, back into $7.50, but back to 8. Urban Rocker, very well backed. You wouldn't see it. We put it up $4.60, got out to as much as $6, which you wouldn't see. I think the best fluck might have only been $5, but 6 was given. Started $4.40. Sherwood's Choice, 50 out to 80. Zeus, $4.60 to $7. 16 out to 21, Strata Lodge. And Noel Rommel, $21 to $31, back into 21. Did lay 5,200 towards the end of betting at $26. They came to the turn. Up front, Jack Song was made work most of the way by Strata Lodge on its outside, ridden by Josh Adams. The pace was on all the way. It drew barrier 1, the winner Zeus. Come to the turn, the two leaders were weakening. On Zeus's outside was My Highlight, ridden by Nash. He had eased around those leaders' heels, and he was wide, and Zeus was momentarily held up, and when he was able to get clear, Nash had got well off the fence to about 6 off the fence, and Zeus went out after him, and there was only one place for him to go, and that was around the My Delight. And as it turned out, when he got out into that section of the track, he was able to, nothing had been out there all day. It was a new patch, and it was able to finish much better than My Highlight, and finish up running third and win by 2.3 lengths. But as I say, they came home in 40, the last 600, which is very, very slow, making up ground, saving ground in between runners. Coming from a long-lasted one stage was Code Word. It finished up running second, beaten 2.3 lengths. Had to go in between runners, and maybe, as I say, through the cut-up section. The last race, well, look, there's a huge discrepancy in here. What was the best fluck? It just goes to pay to show anybody watching, and I know nobody watches this. Well, few people only watch what I have to say. I don't even know why I bother. I'm going to stop shortly by the same token. In this race, on the screen, they said there was 109.4. Now, in the marketplace, there was about 16 less. I counted only about 93% here. what you could have got. This is what I saw. Norma's Betty Boy, a huge result for the captains. It went from $6 to $9. And we'll get to how this race was run after the flux. Mossamine went from 15 to 21. Liechtenstein, you wouldn't see it. I think the best luck was $5. As much as $6.50 was given about Liechtenstein. The rider said it would benefit a lot from today's run because it's had its preparation because of the wet weather had been interrupted, and it mightn't have been fully wound up. Reunite went from $6 out to $9. Garidian, it went from $10 out to 14. Princess Layla from $7 out to 13, back into about a $9 or $10 chance. Sir Burris went from $7 out to 13. The favourite running second, Radar, having every possible chance, 280. You wouldn't see it. There was $3.10 given on the fence, $3.50 in the outside ring. It started $2.50, a 6 to 4 chance, and what's his name, Sandrio. It went from $31 out to $81. Now, when they jumped, he was able to come across. There were 9 runners. He had barrier 8, Norma's Betty Boy. On his outside was Princess Layla. He was able to come across and find the fence very easy down the back straight. Ridden by, who rode the winner? Oh yes, L. Grace, a 3 kilo boy. He's riding very well. He was able to find the fence, hit the bend going out of the straight, stuck onto the fence. But when he got halfway around the circle, this young boy, I think, was a Jerry, along with a lot of other riders. That part from halfway around the circle and into the straight was now a bit of a ploughed paddock. And as they appeared into, you could see him getting off the fence, but when they appeared into the turning for home, he was a good 5 horses off the fence, if not a bit further. Looking at him all the way was the Avery, Radar. It's only a small little runner, Radar, and they hadn't gone hard by any means up in front. He had a picnic on the leader, and when they turned for home, as I say, 5 or 6 off, got into that patch where the previous winner, Zeus, had got, and he was able to beat the favourite by 0.8 of a length. Running third, coming from third last, was Sir Burris, and the runner that got trapped 3 wide in the run all the way, yes, it ran third, Sir Burris, and the runner that got trapped 3 wide all the way was Princess Layla, and it could have been, well, it wasn't most certainly better down the back, but in the straight it was. So its effort was most probably good because it was 3 wide all the way. It ran fourth, beaten 2 lengths. That was about it. As I say, a huge discrepancy in what you could have got and what was, they say, was on the screen in the last race. That was about it. Tomorrow we have no provincials locally. We've got of course, the Grafton Cup meeting on tomorrow. The Cup is on, and it is Warwick Farm on Saturday. A couple of meetings somewhere in New South Wales on Friday. The betting there today, we had the usual suspects. There were only 6 captains on the fence, with some of the captains up at the meeting in Grafton, and in the outer ring it was fairly scarce as well. Anyway, if you whatever you did, I hope you won. Good evening.